On this late Thursday night, as I'm recording this video, Electronic Arts, as of late, has been doing pretty good in terms of public reception. Skate 4, the testing just began with that, a lot of people excited for it. Star Wars Jedi Survivor was revealed recently, that looks like something to be excited for. And then we get something like this. There are 10, but they're only playing single-player games. Now, I understand some people may not understand what that tweet's jumping on, but it's actually a trend in which people say there are 10, and then they say something that makes that individual unappealing. So EA is saying that the person's appealing, they're 10 out of 10, but they like single-player games. It's pretty much a diss at that genre or that type of game, which is just so extremely weird. Especially considering all of the history. I mean, it's on brand. Let me just point that out. Let's get that straight. But with everything that they've gone through, I don't know what the mindset was of the social media intern. I'm also surprised this tweet still is up, but they are getting absolutely eviscerated for it by many game developers, gamers, and even some of their own Electronic Arts developers are just like, what is this? It's just such a dumb take. The biggest diss, though, by far comes from Forbes' Paul Tassi, who says it's understandable that you're unfamiliar with the concept of tens, and yeah, I think it's been like 10 to 12 years since we've seen anything like in that realm, at least in terms of Metacritic scores. And what I'm referring to is I think the last time was like the Mass Effect trilogy so long ago, but EA has had a train wreck in terms of non-sports games, in terms of revenue and the reception that these games have received. Obviously FIFA Ultimate Team, Madden Ultimate Team, they make tons of money, but their other franchises, their other non-sports franchises, not as successful. Now, the thing is with a tweet like this, it's just, we went through this a couple of years ago at the whole Star Wars Battlefront 2 debacle. Actually, it was right before that with Visceral Games. When Visceral Games was shut down, one of the explanations an EA executive said for why they were shutting them down was because people don't really care for linear single-player games. And then a couple of years later, Respawn Entertainment swooped in and they delivered a phenomenally well single-player experience, which was Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. And now the sequel is coming, there's a lot of excitement about it, and then they make a tweet which is pretty much dissing that type of game. Besides Respawn Entertainment, BioWare infamously has had a number of single-player experiences. They tried jumping on the live service bandwagon, and that failed miserably with Anthem. And now Dragon Age 4, I believe, is going to be single player only, something that the BioWare developers pushed for and EA finally accepted. Then, of course, Joseph Fares, he published, I believe, A Way Out under EA. So this is just a bizarre tweet, and I don't understand it, but I kind of do just because of the reputation that EA has, especially nowadays. I guess what I'm trying to say is something like this is just extremely tone deaf, and right now they're being ratioed on Twitter. 267 retweets, over 4,500 quote tweets, and this was just posted I think like 3 hours ago. Just insane the interactions that are happening with this tweet. But as I mentioned, there are a lot of responses happening with this tweet. Somebody saying from the publisher that brought you the hit multiplayer game Anthem, and I think that just speaks for itself. EA hasn't had a 10 in years. Very accurate. EA really thought this tweet was the wave, and yeah, they really thought that they were making a point here or doing something. And with their history, it's baffling that they thought that this was something that was okay to post on their main account too. So remember how Jedi Fallen Order was amazing, and even though it was single player, sold extremely well, and now it's getting a sequel? I guess EA doesn't care to think about that. Games journalists, now I know you ain't talking about single player games like that. Ain't the only thing y'all can do that A, good, B, not morally bankrupt, and yeah, that's true. Jesse Cox saying there are 5, but they never give EA any money. Somebody else saying candidate for worst tweet of the year, and yeah, it's right up there. I'd honestly actually argue that it's right up there with that Reddit comment from years ago with the Star Wars Battlefront 2 loot box debacle, in which, you know, a sense of pride and accomplishment. A tweet like this is, ooh, oh boy. And then people continue saying, imagine playing single-player games. And they point out the Mass Effect Legendary Edition sold even better than EA expected. That's kind of a thing with EA and single-player games. If you didn't know, I think Joseph Fares' Way Out was also a game that EA just vastly underrated, and they were blown away by the sales. And I'm thinking it was the same thing with Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Seems like they have such a very, very low expectations with these single-player games, and they always end up outdoing I guess their expectations. But ultimately, the reason why we never got a Star Wars KOTOR third game in that franchise is because of Electronic Arts' greed. I mean, that's the truth. Of course, there's the MMORPG that I've never cared for, and I don't think most people did. Electronic Arts could have done some amazing things with the Star Wars IP, especially in terms of single-player games, but they never did because this is always about money, and that's always going to be the issue with Electronic Arts and them getting behind single-player games. I just never trust them, and I always think they're going to turn it into a live service experience. Now, actually, a Star Wars Jedi Survivor developer chimed in saying, "Looks at what I'm working on, and yeah, must be really weird seeing the corporate account of the company that you work for being so brain dead." Another Twitter user saying single player games are better. It's not like you release good games anyway. And again, I think over the years, Electronic Arts has been among the publishers at the bottom of the list in terms of reception with their games. So that actually is pretty accurate. And just another point to make about this whole single-player games thing is, if you look at the games over the years of the most highly anticipated ones, it's always single-player. Red Dead Redemption 2, Elden Ring, even Cyberpunk, I know that's a little different because it was a giant disappointment and a mess, but it still had a ton of anticipation behind it because of the fact that it was a single-player game. Even Starfield, God of War Ragnarok right now, these are all games highly anticipated, and that's because they're single player, and they're probably going to sell 10, 20 million copies. Hell, The Last of Us remake's going to be coming out in a couple of months, and again, that's another game that's probably going to sell 10, 20 million copies. Single player games have never been better. Now, another user saying EA's social media team right now, huge mistake, and like I said, I'm very much surprised that this hasn't been taken down yet. Maybe by the time this video goes up, it has. Then another games journalist, Kate Onder, saying, "My brother in Christ, you just released Battlefield 2042, and it's one of the worst online games I've ever played in my life." I mean, let's be honest, Electronic Arts seems to have actually some success and quality with single-player games. That's obviously unintentional, but in the live service department, they're not very good at it. They got lucky with the sports franchises, but they've just had zero luck in terms of turning their non-sports franchises, whether that be Battlefield, Mass Effect, and then Anthem, into giant live. It's just never worked, which is kind of hilarious. It also just shows that they can't really do much successfully. And hey, there is one multiplayer game that's coming about that people are excited about, and that's Skate 4, but I don't know how to feel with Electronic Arts behind this, to be honest. Especially the modern EA. Continuing forward with a couple more tweets, we had the Actman, another YouTuber, saying, "This you," and he points out Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Another user saying, "Countdown to the apology tweet," and we all know that is coming. It probably will be here before this video is even uploaded. Electronic Arts is going to say, "Oh, we're so sorry, we didn't actually mean it. It was just, we thought we were doing the trendy thing, but instead we actually just dissed single-player games and made ourselves look stupid, but we're so sorry," even though that they've said comments in the past by all of their executives all dissing single-player games non-stop. I think they said that was one of the reasons why Battlefield 5 failed, because they concentrated on the single-player side. But no, we're so sorry. That's what EA is going to pretty much say in their statement, because again, that's coming. So a quick update, as I expected, EA came out with a little bit of an apology, saying roast well deserved. "We'll take this L because playing single player games actually makes them an 11. They tried to save themselves, but at least they didn't double down. But this entire situation just extremely ugly and making EA look very, very bad once again. Another user saying they are a 10, but they think EA is a good company. Accurate. And then somebody pointing out rightfully, of course you don't want someone that likes single player games, too little monetization. Indeed. Blair Brown, an actual senior producer at Respawn Entertainment and one who is working on Jedi Survivor, again this is a company under EA, saying, "Just having an existential crisis at the fact that my publisher doesn't know what me or my team does, or they don't care." Another YouTuber is saying, "If you could sum up how utterly out of touch 99% of game publishers are with a single tweet, this is a candidate." True. Alana Pierce, a video game writer at Sony Santa Monica, saying, "This may be one of the worst brand tweets I have ever read." Yeah, it really is that bad. Then SkillUp just showing a picture of Android Wilson, the CEO of Electronic Arts. And again, another EA executive who has shared his, let's just say, sordid disdain for single-player games and the fact that they can't be milked like live services such as FIFA Ultimate Team, Apex Legends, and so on and so forth. Games that could be made for $1 billion, make billions of dollars every single year. That's the issue with single-player games. And then another individual saying, you published The Sims, right? Again, another single-player franchise. Jesus, I keep forgetting there's so many of them. And some of these are actually pretty darn good, or at least they have been good. Another user saying, remember when EA hired people to protest their single-player game outside E3 2009? Long time ago. That was before these live services really popped off, and EA just they followed the money and gave up on all of that single-player nonsense, the stuff that actually made them who they are. And then we have another individual who works for Warframe saying, weird take from a publisher who's doubling down on multiplayer has been one of the biggest sticking points with its community, but maybe that's just me. Gaming insider Tom Henderson chimed in saying there are 10, but they don't give their developers the time and support they need. Yeah, a lot of well-documented failures over the years. A BioWare writer saying, thinking about working until midnight for the better part of a year to help ship Mass Effect 2. John Epler, the creative director actually on the next Dragon Age, responded with a tweet which basically can be summarized as yikes. And then Dragon Age director Mike Laidlaw also jumping in saying absolutely tone deaf, and right on the money he is. Last but not least, we actually got a reaction from the Respawn head himself, Vince Zampella, and he simply just responded with a facepalm emoji because I'm sure everybody within EA knows how bad of a look this is. So ladies and gentlemen, that is EA being fucking stupid. I waited 10 minutes in to finally swear, but yeah, this was pretty fucking bad, and there will be an apology tour on the way very soon, and I'm sure that there will be some stares in the EA offices at the social media intern or employee who thought that this was a good idea. I don't know how they thought that this was going to be a banger. Like, do they not understand the company's history and how players view single-player games? It just doesn't make any sense to me, but hey, it's perfectly in brand. This is what EA has been about for the last decade. But anywho, a mostly short video. I just kind of wanted to talk about EA being stupid. We don't get to do that as often because they've kind of smartened up over the years to, shut their mouths, but I guess this was one of those moments where I don't know how a tweet like this gets approved, or maybe because it was late at night, somebody just whoops. But regardless, it happened, and now EA they'll react eventually, and we'll be talking about it probably in my next news video. But thank you guys for watching. Let me know your thoughts on this down in the comment section below, but make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video or if you found any informative value, and make sure to follow my other social media accounts for updates on new videos. Links are always down in the description below. I'm most active on Twitter, giving opinions on news that I do not always get into video form, so do make sure to follow me over there. Also check out my Discord for all sorts of discussion on games. And again, thank you for joining. Consider subscribing for more videos like this, and I'll see you later.